and everything to plumb the air governor. So we got this going to tank. This will go in the air governor. Because I got to do two of them. I got two things fitting. Colt, wait down, bud. 1/4-inch line. Pop-off valve. I ordered 2 pop-off valves in the house. Sometimes it's kind of hard to get them to warm up because the fan pulls so much air through the radiator that it takes a while to get them to warm up. Well, I hope it all goes well. I'll let you know. Colt, Daisy, come on. Hey, come on. Come on. Get out of there. Gonna get it set or they could get going there. I mean, you can see right there right now, they're harvesting right now. They're waiting on this thing. They're waiting on this gear. He's up there at the depot, UPS depot, riding their ass trying to get them to release it. Colt, come here, bud. Come on. You guys aren't dragging drip tape out of the damn field, are you? You can't be doing that. Oh, that's my hose I took off this digger. Okay, well, you ain't hurting nothing then. Yeah. There you go. Go get that hose. Goofballs. A couple goofballs. Alright, so I gotta get that set up in there right. And then get the intake plumb back on it right here. No, I was gonna put a gauge. I got a pipe bushing here. I got a 0300 PSI gauge. I'm gonna just plumb it in there and get the governor set where it unloads, where the cut out and cut in works. And then I'll pull the gauge out, put the plug back in it, take all that stuff. I told him he's gonna have to tee a gauge in. He's gonna have to do this right this winter, give you guys something to do. They can run a gauge in there to the cab, monitor your pressure. Okay, I made a video a long time ago about these harvesters. Okay, so there's four of these machines, okay? The first machine that was built, okay, let's start from the beginning, what this does and the function of this machine, because I got asked that numerous times on a couple of those videos. This is a strawberry harvester. This is not fruit, this is a plant. This is nursery. These are strawberry nursery plants. These plants go to the fruit growers all over the world. I mean, they ship them all over the world. Florida, California. California's another world too. Anyhow, Spain, Italy, Japan, I mean, you name it, okay? So, anyhow, these are nursery plants, okay? You'll see out there, okay, there's the harvester running. Okay, now, that tractor, they got the hood up on over there, that's the chopper. Okay, that goes and chops it chops the tops off those plants and shreds them. You know, most of them are flail type choppers. Hold on, I got a phone call. So the wind's blowing pretty good today, but I wanted to explain to you a little bit about this harvester. What I was actually saying as this clip progressed here is that I showed up here today, and it was one thing, you know, we got this thing kind of wrapped up, and I was waiting on the gear. The gear we ordered for the drive gear was the only gear when we went through this entire front timing gear train on this. If you're curious as to what happens and you haven't seen the previous videos, there's 2 previous videos. If you click on my channel, you'll see the 2 previous videos, and that'll explain to you what's going on with this machine. Anyway, the gear showed up. It was in Lathrop. Everything else, usually everything that's in Portland will show up in Merrill the next day, but for John Deere, Lathrop's usually 2 days out. Well, we'd ordered it, and the next day aired it on a Friday, but I got the order in too late, and they weren't able to get the order processed, and they didn't actually ship it till Saturday. So then it showed up here Monday. Anyway, I had came and put, as you can see, as you saw there in the previous clip, that I put the catwalk and stuff back on it. I've got the air governor plumbed, all that good stuff. I'm waiting on her to bring the gear. So I wanted to explain to you guys a little bit about strawberry diggers, okay? Uh, the company that I used to work for, and that's where I've learned a lot of this stuff, guys. I worked for a strawberry nursery just like this for, I don't think, 12 or 13 years as a mechanic and a fabricator, little jack of all everything. I wasn't the main fabricator. Uh, I He's a good friend of mine, still is. The head mechanic down there, Tony, is probably where I learned a lot of what I know right now, and a lot about just a lot of this stuff. You know, he was a damn good mechanic, still is. He's still going at it. He's a father of time. He got to be 60, 63, 64 years old now, and still working for him. But anyway, we built all our own equipment too. All this you see here, there's 4 of these machines, and his guys, these farmers, they built it themselves. You know, this guy here, the owner, he didn't build it himself. Really, oh, he did. He's the one that paid for everything. But his fabricators in his shop built all this from scratch. The first one they built was kind of was an old Tarrigator sprayer that they stretched out and put chutes on. But these here were kind of, they built these things from the ground up. You know, there weren't no Tarrigator parts or nothing. The front end kind of looks like a Tarrigator with that big uh, center wheel, but I mean, everything else was kind of its own machine here. And these are quite a bit bigger than everybody else in the industry's uh, diggers. This is a strawberry diggers, is its nomenclature. Anyway, so what I wanted to tell you is, you'll see this chute here. This chute goes up and down with this straight chain on it, okay? This is not shaker chain, as you'll see when I walk up the chute here. Shaker chain has, every other bar will have a kind of a loop in it, and usually, and I kind of didn't see that on this digger. All our diggers on our shaker chain, we actually had shaker sprockets too. Now, if you've ever been around a potato bulker, what they call a spud bulker, they actually have what they call hydraulic shakers on them. And the purpose of the shaker is to get rid of the dirt. I mean, anytime you're doing any kind of digging onions, you're digging strawberries, digging potatoes, anything that you're pulling out of the ground, carrots, it doesn't matter what commodity you're getting out of the ground. Here's the shaker chain right here. You'll see the steps on the bars. Any kind of commodity like that, and you're pulling it out of the ground, you want to leave the dirt in the field. And the nice thing, and the nice thing about this area, and what really, there's 2 things that really attract the nursery strawberry nursery, this area, is the climate. It's not Antarctica. I say it's cold because I know the guys will get on here, well, I'm in Canada and it's 40 below. This area is really, really, really good about the climate's really, it's a colder climate for these plants. Okay, it really makes them hardy and tough in the spring when you plant them, and in the fall you get the chill hours. You know, it usually takes about 400 chill hours before you can. And what I mean by chill hours, it gets below 32 degrees Fahrenheit before you can start digging them. You want the plant to be dormant. You don't want the plant basically to be awake. You want it to be dormant. When it gets a certain amount of chill hours, the plants go dormant, and then you can dig them up, put them in bins, send them to a trim shed. They'll trim them, grade them, all that kind of stuff. I'll explain maybe a little bit of that later. Uh, and anyhow, once they dig them, you'll see here. Now, this particular digger here has got what they call star wheels on it too. He's kind of got a little bit of everything on here. And these guys are pretty innovative. They really are. I mean, with the way that, and he's just got some tines here. We did that too on our diggers. We had there's what we call star wheel diggers. We have some other nurseries that have star wheels, and that's all that's on the entire machine. The front short section is chain, but it's the rest of it's star wheels. He actually has shaker chain, straight chain, and star wheels. He's got a little bit of everything. The only thing he doesn't have is a trommel. you guys ever seen a like Gold Rush, the show, and they have those trommels that separates the gold? Well, our diggers, most of our diggers, we had 20, I don't know, 22 of them, I think. And they the front chute had the straight chain, the second chute up had shaker chain and shaker sprockets, and then it went into a trommel that sat on an angle. And that the plants, the trommel actually had tines inside of it that would grab the plants and swing them around and knock the dirt off of them. And then they came out to a back chute that sat on some chains, some cross conveyor chains that the operator in the back of the machine ran that unloaded the bin. We did bins. He doesn't do bins. He offloads his with this big conveyor that stretches out here into, well, he does actually do bins, but they're on flatbed trailers. And then the bins, he's pulling the bins through the field. And the reason that he does that is because all these other nurseries have to transport we're an hour and a half from Reading, and we're, I don't know, maybe 2.5 hours, 3 hours from Yuba City, and then we're 5 hours, well, 6 hours in a truck from Manteca. So when I worked for the other strawberry nursery, which was a big nursery, that's where all their trim sheds were from McDowell, California. They were hauling and transporting them in reefers all the way from McDowell to Reading, Yuba City, and Manteca. This guy here, he built his own trim shed right on the premises, so he doesn't have to worry about his plants coming out of dormancy and getting too hot. He hauls them straight from the field right to the trim shed, and then they're trimming them, and then they're putting them in the cold storage, and then right there from the cold storage, they're going to the fields to get planted all over the world is what they're doing, or they go get put in a cooler somewhere else. But there's a lot that goes into this strawberry industry. And the other thing I wanted to mention, see, I told you about the first thing was the climate and the colder weather up here for the nursery stock. The second thing is it's really, really sandy ground. And see, that's one thing that's you really, really, the strawberry plants, man, it's tough to get the dirt off of them. It really is. And the sandier ground is easier actually to get the sand off than it is like heavier ground like clay or uh, just heavier ground. You kind of really don't want to plant your strawberries in heavier ground. We used to have strawberries in MacArthur, California, and it was really heavy ground. And the problem with that area is that when we were digging down there, and if we got a wet fall while we were harvesting, I mean, we had bin carriers and cats and machines stuck everywhere. And we had a bunch of D4D SAs, D4Cs. Some of them had blades, some of them didn't. And the ones with blades, sometimes we'd have to unhook them from the trommel diggers and then take them and push all the cats or push all the bin carriers and pull the other diggers out. It was kind of a mess. I mean, it was kind of a heavier clay type soil to where you just kind of sat up there on the top and you just spun. I mean, the plants still grew really good and everything in that area. But as far as the soil, we got like 3 or 4 wet falls in a row, and I mean, they finally decided enough was enough. We were tearing the equipment up. I mean, some of the stuff we had to leave in the ground and lost lots of money because we couldn't get them out. So, yeah, if only I was doing YouTube videos back then, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff I saw when we were digging strawberries back then. It was pretty wild nights because we dug strawberries at night. It was these guys here are digging in the day though. So anyways, guys, I'll continue on a little bit with the strawberry industry, maybe tell you a couple of different things. Uh, actually, the gear showed up here, and actually what I'm doing here is, I'll explain that right quick. The wind's blowing so bad, it makes the audio really terrible. It's just horrible right now. The wind's blowing like a son of a gun. So anyways, I've got the drive gear on there and the nut torque the drive gear nut down to 120 foot-pounds. We're actually building air right now, and when I first on these air governors, you want to run a line up. You know, this guy needs an air dryer. You'll see here when I open this valve, but uh, I told him for now, just, you know, about every day drain those tanks. Look at the water come out of that thing. So anyway, on the air governor, just take the little end cap off the governor there, and just take the screw clockwise for less cutout pressure. You know, you screw it in, you'll get less pressure on the cutout, and then go counterclockwise, you'll get more pressure on the cutout. So anyhow, I started it up and I got 150 psi, so I went up there and turned it clockwise a few turns there and checked it again. I think I got it to 125 the second go around, but um, we had what they called trommel diggers, as I was explaining earlier, and I'll tell you something. We had 3 flow controls. We had a flow control. We had a gear pump running off I think a little gearbox coming off the back of the flywheel on those diggers. And we had little John Deere diesel engines, the little 4045s running these funk gearboxes with that ran our gear pumps. Okay, so what we did, we ran 3 flow controls back then. One flow, you could speed up or slow down the front chain sets, the 2 front chains. The second flow control sped up and slowed down the trommel. And the thing about that, you could speed up or slow down if you really had a really heavier ground that you had a lot of dirt on and you were really having trouble getting rid of the dirt. You could speed that trommel up and have it spin faster, and that would get rid of more dirt. And then you could the operator could speed up or slow down the back end, the cross conveyor chains, with the third flow control. Well, those trommel diggers had kind of a flaw into them. Okay, if we got into real wet, heavy ground or frozen ground, because sometimes we had to dig frozen ground, and say if they, what we did, what they call plugging one up, if they got too much, and if the operator was going too fast and got too much material and dirt and plants in the trommel, and most of the time is when they were going slow and they had the trommels turning so slow that it wouldn't, what it would do is it would stall. And once they stall, you couldn't hardly, once all those plants fell and that dirt fell back down to the bottom of the trommel, you had a hell of a time getting her to go over center again to get the hydraulic motors to spin that trommel again. Well, we've caught them doing it. Well, and Tony, my old buddy that's still working there, I never saw it, but he told me a story of one time, and I actually caught him doing it a couple times myself. They would plug those things up and then get in there and start shoveling and cleaning it out, and actually shoveling the plants out of the trommel with the flow control wide open with the engine revved up. And as soon as that thing gets enough weight out of there, you're going for a ride. And I caught them a couple times when I worked there doing it and said, hey, you monkeys, you realize you're going to get killed doing that? You got to turn that flow control off when you're in that trommel. But he actually had a couple of them guys that one time that got flung around in there, broke his ribs. That trommel started spinning and throwing him around on the tines in there, because he was in there shoveling the plants out of the trommel, and somebody left the flow control on with the hydraulic pump. It had a Rockford clutch. With the Rockford clutch engaged, and the trommel started turning with that guy in there. I mean, holy shit, I bet he shit his pants when that thing started moving on him. Yeah, that's one of the stories from that era. Alright, well, I got her set now. Cut it in. I think it cuts in at like 90. Yeah, I can hear it cut in. Been out about here in the cab somewhere. Yeah, there's a leak in here, but we gotta do something here. Leak in here, that ain't no good. Gotta fix this. My shit's gonna be right. Just turn this adjustment screw here in clockwise for less pressure and counterclockwise for more pressure. Pretty simple. Yeah, that's not going to work.